Hey everybody, Eric for Present here. Please leave a like to support this video. Our first story today revolves around head-mounted haptics, something that I do remember being brought up on Reddit quite a long time ago, kind of disappeared. It's good to see the topic come back into play to help reduce motion sickness to some people, and anything that makes VR more accessible to more people. It's good in my book. Let's talk about it. In an article by Ben Lang of Road to VR, researchers from 3 different universities say and attempted to show that haptic feedback delivered to the head from a VR headset can significantly reduce discomfort and motion sickness. This is done through the Walking Vibe system, which uses small head-mounted haptics that synchronize with your movement in VR. Now, this study had 240 participants, the researchers say, and they can show significant reductions in motion sickness. Now, a couple notes that I think are very important to disclaim is, for one, all participants in this study were in the seated position. None of them were standing. I will get back into that shortly. And in addition, they did not have control over their smooth locomotion. They basically were on the rails, a guided path. Now, I've had the pleasure of using the Haptics face cover that provides some haptic feedback to my face, and when it comes to immersion, it is pretty cool. But there is an extra ground, similar to my compliments to the Cyber Shoes, helping motion sickness by connecting the sensations of the body and brain, which I think may help the disconnect that can lead to motion sickness. Now, when it comes to these actively being sold, I don't think we'll see anything like this for quite a while, but anything that can reduce friction to people prone to motion sickness, whether they think they may have it or not, I'm down for it. It just adds more users to VR. One note about them all being in the seated position: I would like to see this study redone with standing. However, I understand why they had these occupants sitting down. It reduces the variables as everyone stands and plays a little differently, and this way they can try to mitigate all variables to get the best results they can. But still, I would like to see a study like this with standing and with in control of smooth locomotion. I think that's important to know. If something like this works, let me know your thoughts. In our next story, we've also been covering the PSVR 2 quite a bit more recently, especially after that fiasco of Xbox's latest event was very underwhelming. It's glad to see, and I'm glad to see, Sony VR doing a lot of work, and in a new patent, it hints at face tracking features actually, and I really want to talk about that. Now, the patent, link will be in the description, titled Integration of Tracked Facial Features for VR Users in Virtual Reality Environments, shows the use of cameras on the underside or around the nose to capture users' mouth and facial expressions. Now, I'm not sure how many people have met users with full body tracking, or face tracking for that matter, but it's honestly just plain different and pretty jaw-dropping. Some of the amazing people in the Neos VR community showed me around at one point, and those using, say, 11 points of tracking, including face, I kind of felt a presence behind their avatars. It was like talking to a human, not just a virtual representation of an avatar. You may also remember Facebook showing some of these amazing clips in the past, showing similar tech. Now, it's most likely something that will only start with early adopters and make its way to mainstream VR community use in the future, but if you stumble around anyone who has face tracking, I'd stop and say hi so you can see the power of it. As with every news story revolving around the PSVR 2, it is always up in the air still of what the PSVR 2 will actually be delivered with, when it will be actually delivered, because we know it's not getting launched with the PS5, and everything is subject to change. However, when it comes to these developments, I am very enlightened and I'm heartened by it, because Oculus, for all I love them and all they've done great for VR, I like competition, I like choices, and Sony has done a great job recently of innovating, and I'd like to see what they can bring to the table to kind of undo the grip that Oculus has over everyone. That's just my opinions. Let me know your thoughts. Now, I ran into an interesting article as well, something I've been thinking quite a bit about as we move further in this post-pandemic world, about hygiene and VR usage, especially shared public VR usage. And I'm glad to see a discussion around this. In an article by Scott Hayden of Road to VR, he reports on Hologate and its new VR arcade hygiene standards to hopefully build back consumer confidence. For those not familiar with Hologate, they have more than 300 locations worldwide and are the largest virtual reality entertainment network for in-person VR events. It kind of goes without saying that due to the current pandemic, it is not the right time for shared public VR experiences, and in fact, it's likely not going to be the right time for quite a while. But it's an important part of the VR community to work on a plan to eventually get back into it, because it provides an invaluable means, in my opinion, for people to try VR before buying, something that honestly right now is borderline impossible and a huge problem. In a statement by Hologate, Post-coronavirus, we must accept the reality that we will be unable to operate as we have before. Cleanliness and disinfection will have to become paramount to customer confidence in enjoying our attractions and location-based entertainment. We must also ensure that standards are maintained by professionals and not left to the customer. Attendant run systems are at an advantage in regards to hygiene, as they ensure that the public access components are sanitized at a professional level. Now, like I alluded to before, trying VR, it's very important to me. I think many people try a VR experience once and that's what gets them hooked, and unfortunately it is very hard to try a VR experience before you buy. In addition, sometimes just seeing people have fun in a VR situation and hearing what they say makes you want to experience that as well, so you can share your thoughts with that person and have that common connection. So trying VR in public shared spaces is important, but now moving forward to the next couple of years, when will it be appropriate for these to come back? When will consumers be very open to it? It's going to be a big change for people, a lot of hurdles for hygiene specifically. However, moving over the next couple of years, it's going to be very important to see how hygiene, consumer confidence, things like that play out. And I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on hygiene in VR, especially in public shared VR events. But it is extremely heartening to see Hologate looking into this now, making a plan, and I am wishing the best for them. Also, in super quickie news, many of you are already familiar with the hand physics lab that has just launched on SideQuest. I had a little bit of advance notice to play with this around, and it is fantastic, and I highly encourage you all to try this for yourself. Coming from the team behind Holoception and the love child of Dennis Kunert, in this test lab you have tons of levels, buttons, blocks, and more to mess around with. Now, you've probably seen the teasers all over Twitter for past months, and finally you now can play this for free on SideQuest. Finger tracking has come a long way since launch, and those currently on version 16 for their Oculus Quest who remember what hand tracking was actually like when it first launched, I mean, it's come leaps and bounds so far. Now, please remember that Hand Physics Lab is a side project. Their focus is still on the main game Holoception, which if you haven't tried, I also recommend to try that game. It is a very fun game, and you're supporting terrific people by trying it. However, they have promised possible updates to this coming in the future. Where finger tracking started and where it is now, with really hard work like this available on SideQuest, please try it out. Please experiment with it. It's going to get better and better, and I couldn't be happier with this. And lastly, I want to touch on a Udemy course out right now with a very discounted rate, link in the video description here, to help with the fundamentals for people trying to develop for virtual reality on the Oculus Quest. Now, quick disclaimer, I was reached out by the creator of this course. However, there are no affiliate links or any monetary exchanges for this coverage. After speaking with them, reviewing the course, personally, I just wanted to give it a little attention. This course is designed for Unity developers who want to learn virtual reality development with Oculus Quest and creators who want to use Oculus Quest for their creative purposes, covering a wide variety of topics like seen here, with the ultimate goal by the end of this course to easily prototype your Oculus Quest game or app. Requirements are very basic needed for this course in having an Oculus Quest, beginner experience with Unity, and having a PC or Mac that supports the Unity game engine, and that's basically it. For many of my OG VR enthusiasts and early adopters who have been doing VR for as long as they can remember, they have probably seen the development of VR over time being heavily driven by the community and heavily driven by indie developers and people doing a lot of stuff on their own time for free to really move everything forward. Yes, big name titles like Half-Life Alyx, things like that, by larger companies drive things, but there's a lot of user-created content that's just fantastic, and I think anyone who's aspiring to try to do anything with virtual reality, especially on the Oculus Quest, it seems like a good fundamentals course. The discount link makes it extremely cheap, and the more people working on things for VR, the more moves faster, and the better stuff we eventually get. So I really wanted to give this a little coverage, but that's going to be it for today. Please leave a like to support this video, and I'll see you on the next one, VR Space Cowboys.